So the reading last night was in chapter 12 of Revelation, a very interesting chapter, a chapter in which there's much to discuss and maybe some things to disagree about, but I want just to pass on the consensus of opinion of the discussion last night. The woman in the chapter is the nation of Israel. She is seen as dressed with the symbols of rule and government. Her child is Jesus, who shall rule the nations with a rod of iron, and the dragon that opposes her is none other than Satan himself. He is named as such, that old serpent, the dragon. His design is to destroy the man-child Jesus. He has 7 heads, and these 7 heads represent the 7 kingdoms that Satan has used over the years, over the decades, over the centuries, to destroy or to oppose the purposes of God in Israel. First is in Egypt, where we discover the Egyptians casting the male children into the river. And this continues through the next 6 kingdoms that have ruled over Israel and shall rule over Israel in the tribulation. Of course, it manifested itself in the Lord's day in Bethlehem, where Herod, under the control of the Roman Empire, tried to destroy the Lord Jesus in his infancy, and all these other children in Bethlehem were destroyed at that time. But as in this picture, so then the child is preserved, and here he is caught up to heaven, and he is in the place of authority, and that is where Christ is today. Because this happens, of course, the dragon turns in anger upon the woman, and there is great suffering for the Jews, especially in this tribulation time that is to come. Anti-Semitism shall increase to an unknown degree before. There shall be a Holocaust of Jews, and many shall flee. In fact, the Lord Jesus gave advice to those who are in Jerusalem, and that was his word to them: flee, flee in that day. Now, the woman flees here in this chapter, and she flees into the wilderness, and she is preserved there for this 3.5 period of intense suffering in the second half of the tribulation. We discover that Satan attacks her, and especially those of her children who believe in the Lord Jesus Christ and testify to that. And he sends after her a great flood, which previously in the Bible has been used to describe the enemy attacking Israel. So it would seem to be that in that day Satan shall inspire the nations against Israel. But we find that the earth helps her, opens its mouth and swallows this flood that comes from the dragon. Now, this is quite interesting, and I think it describes to us something that we find in Matthew chapter 25. Now, in that chapter, we find the Lord speaking about his judgment that he will carry out. We call it the judgment of the living nations. When the Lord returns, and those nations that are alive will pass under the judgment of the King, and this shall be the basis on which they will be justified or condemned. And those who have shown mercy to his children, as much as you have done it unto one of those who believe in me, you have done it unto me. And what that refers to is the fact that in this terrible time of persecution, that as then Israel is scattered again throughout the world, then those who believe in the Lord Jesus Christ, realizing that this persecution is because of Christ, will show mercy and will preserve the seed of Israel in those days. And that is the basis on which judgment is carried out when the King returns. It's not so much that they're saved through works, for that is never God's way of salvation, but their works show that they too are the brethren of the Lord Jesus Christ. So much in the chapter, much to think about. Great to see how God will preserve his people through that terrible time of suffering until his kingdom comes. Thank you.